Hey guys, it's Joshua Reviews. How do I do this? I'm gonna tell you right now, I spent 30 minutes trying to get my thoughts out on this film. And no matter what I did, I just couldn't describe them perfectly. The film, of course, that I'm reviewing for this late Halloween special, which by the way, thank you guys for waiting so long. My long-awaited Halloween Ends review. Okay, couldn't tell, Halloween, my all-time favorite horror movie. Love the franchise. I have the entire trilogy. I'm just going to make this really short. There are other videos that go more in depth in this movie. So I'm just going to talk about what I thought. But first, before I do that, 2018 is my all-time favorite Halloween sequel. Kills is dumb, but fun. But ultimately, it has become one of my all-time favorite Halloween sequels, despite obvious issues. And when I saw Ends, after seeing Kills the year previously, I was expecting a showdown, an awesome showdown with Laurie and Michael, but I knew it was going to be towards the end. I knew the fight they were setting up in the trailers, and I just kind of had a general idea that the fight was going to be at the end of the film. So I told myself, okay, what's the story gonna be? You know, where can they go from this? And I didn't really know where they could go. The last movie ended with Michael escaping, him on the loose. So where could they go? And then I heard rumors that it was gonna be about a copycat killer, and I was like, that's not something that's been done before. That's really interesting. I told all my friends, and they're like, that's stupid. Why would they do that? And I'm like, I don't know, it seems cool. They did that with Friday the 13th Part 5, and while admittedly that film got bad reception when it came out, it ultimately has gained a following for being one of the better Friday sequels. My friend considers that in the top 3 Friday the 13th sequels. So when I saw Ends and the reception it got, I immediately told myself, y'all are crazy. This movie's really fucking good. I really liked Halloween Ends. When I first saw it, because I saw it twice in theaters, I liked it. Didn't have any issues with it. I saw it again. I had some tiny issues, but nothing that would make me not like this movie. What did I like? I think the acting's good. I think the story is interesting. I like how it concludes, and the fact that out of all the timelines we've gotten with Michael Myers, this one is definitive, and it actually ends. Things I didn't like. I feel like when you watch the trilogy all together, End is kind of, it is kind of the, what you call it, like the black sheep. It stands out. You have 2018 Kills, where it takes place on the exact same night. And then you have Ends, which takes place 4 years later and goes in a completely different direction with these two. So you're like, oh, okay, that's a little odd, but whatever. As long as the story isn't engaging, then who cares? And in my opinion, I love the story it went with. The fact that Corey is introduced in this film is admittedly really whoa, who's this new guy? But the fact that they were able to include him in this film and still have the story, in my opinion, flow naturally was incredible. And I have to give a round of applause for that, despite the fact that not a lot of people agree with me on that. So I'm in the minority. So you may think differently. Now let me address something really quick before I get into anything else. If you guys don't like Halloween Ends, you are entitled to your opinion. I said it. People don't like Halloween Ends for legitimate reasons. First of all, Michael Myers is not what you'd expect him to be after Kills in 2018. He is injured. He is an old, decrepit man. Laurie is not the main character. The fight is only at the end, and the fight itself is only 1 minute and 50 seconds. No joke. I think with some of the extra stuff, the fight itself is like 2 minutes. And this is the final showdown they have. Compared to H2O, which the fight was like 5 minutes, but it took like gaps in between. It took breaks after each fight. But with this fight, it's just a non-stop fight that's only 2 minutes. So, if you don't like the movie for those reasons, that's your opinion. I don't really know what else to say because I didn't have a problem with any of the things people had an issue with. The issues I do have are stuff that basically just involves the trilogy as a whole. Like you watch 2018 and Kills, and it doesn't really feel cohesive when it comes to ends. Because the one common complaint I heard was that it should have taken place on the same night. And while I don't know how that really would have worked well, I do agree it probably should have for the better. But because this was the story they wanted to tell, they couldn't do that. So I understand why. Now, the thing people hate about this movie the most, Michael's weak and Corey's the main character in a film that was marketed as Laurie versus Michael. To me, I went in knowing the fight was going to be at the end, so I wasn't bothered by that. I wasn't bothered by all the people telling me that this movie is not what you'd expect. I'm like, okay, that's whatever. Movies do it all the time. Movies mismarket stuff all the time. In fact, I didn't even watch the second trailer. I only saw the first trailer, and the trailer already suggested that there would be a copycat killer. So I was like, okay. So when I saw the movie, I liked the direction it took. I like Corey. I like the fact that they included him and made it feel cohesive, in my opinion. I liked Corey's progression as he went down this path of evil, and I like the fact that they draw comparisons to Michael, which is ultimately why Michael lets him live, which is a minor spoiler, but that's kind of what gets the story going. Michael lets Corey live, and Corey brings Michael to Laurie, similar to how in 2018, and I think that's kind of what this film kind of suggests. In 2018, the Doctor, he brings Michael to Laurie in 2018. Dr. Sartain. A lot of people had an issue with that. But Dr. Sartain is fascinated with Michael. And he wants to know if the reason Michael stays alive is because of Laurie. So, my best guess is similar to Corey, how Corey looked into Michael's eyes. He looked into Michael's eyes at some point and was like, cuckoo. He went crazy. And he wasn't pure evil like Corey was, but he basically was crazy enough to bring Michael to Laurie. Similar to Dr. Sartain, but not exactly, when Corey looks into Michael's eyes, he sees evil. I mean, it's described in all the movies. When you look into Michael's eyes, he's, pure black eyes. It's nothing but evil, black empty sockets. When Dr. Loomis looked into Michael's eyes, he saw nothing but pure evil. Laurie looked into Michael's eyes and saw nothing but pure evil. Michael looked into Corey's eyes and saw nothing but pure evil. That's why he let him go, because he saw himself in Corey. And when Corey looked into Michael's eyes, he could relate. That's why they have a little, bonding moment where they team up. Although it turns out Michael and Corey never team up in this movie. Michael follows Corey, and that's why the scene at the pool when he kills the doctor and nurse couple, it's not them teaming up. Michael apparently followed Corey, which I didn't know until just recently, so that's interesting. But I like the direction it took with that approach and how it made it more psychological, which a lot of people didn't like, and it's totally fine if you don't, but I did. And the reason I liked it is because, to me, this represents the whole franchise in a nutshell. How people are obsessed with Michael. How people are obsessed with, wanting to dress up like Michael. How people love to do all these things, and obsess about talking about Michael. In this film, it kind of shows that with, the idea of Michael. That anyone can basically take shape and become pure evil. I like that. And I like the fact that this movie goes to show that, anyone can be pure evil. Anyone could be evil. And I also like the fact that we get to see the characters grow, and not necessarily in a In 2018, it was about depression and anxiety and fear and trauma. This one, it's about healing and recovering. And you have good versus evil, the good versus evil dynamic, which I love in films, with Laurie and Corey, but also with Michael. And she knows something's up with Corey with Michael, which is why Laurie comes back to fight off against Michael / Corey, just in a different way. And if you look at it from that perspective, I would hope you would maybe find a better appreciation, because knowing that and rewatching this film again and again, and time and time again, I found a new appreciation for it. That this movie is a Laurie versus Michael film, just in a different way, in a different form. Michael and Laurie's battle is subjective and very psychological. Laurie is trying to save Corey from going down the same path Michael went, because she too looked into Michael's eyes and she knows it. She's trying to save Allison and Corey. And I like the fact that she's actually trying to help after the loss of her daughter, Karen, which is an issue I have. I do not like the fact that she basically ignores the fact that her daughter's dead, besides like maybe one bit of dialogue and some hints that she has somewhat of an acknowledgement that she died. She practically just forgets her daughter died. So that is an issue I have. Same thing with the marching band kids. It's hard for me to believe that's how people act nowadays, but we are living in a time where there's a lot of riots going on. And people said that Halloween Kills is unrealistic and how mob mentality is not a real thing. Yeah, sure. Okay. People don't act that stupid? Sure. Bullies don't actually act like that? Okay, sure. Sure. Maybe they don't act exactly like the way they act in this movie, but I have been bullied a few times in my life, and there was a time when I went to a gas station to get a drink, and I was bullied similar to the way Corey was in this film. And I was like, shit, I'm getting major, deja vu. So, it wasn't the exact same way, but it's like, damn, maybe people do act like that. So, who knows? I'm willing to accept it and whatever. But, yeah, those are some issues I do have with the movie. And obviously the fact that, Michael was weak, and he only has 10 minutes of screen time. Psych, you thought I actually gave a shit about that? No, I don't give a shit about how long Michael is on screen. I don't even really care the fact that he's weak. To me, it makes sense because he's weak from after all the beating and abuse he's taken from 2018 and Kills. To me, that makes sense. That makes it more realistic, and I like that approach. Now, granted, it is supernatural, the fact that he can take all these hits, but people have survived crazy shit like that before. So to me, it's not really totally unbelievable, but who knows? It is a movie. You can't suspend your disbelief for some things. And maybe Michael is supernatural, just in a different way. Who knows? It's all left up to interpretation, which I like. I don't like the fact that they explicitly tell you everything. They do tend to overanalyze some things in this film. Like, they explicitly say that because your boogeyman disappeared, they needed a new one. So it's like, I feel like they're a little on the nose with trying to make Corey this new boogeyman, but I don't mind that because Michael Myers is eternal. The idea of Michael Myers is eternal, similar to Santa or something like, Krampus, or something like, I'm trying to think of anything else other than Santa, but, it's like Santa's obviously not real, but the idea of him is real. Michael Myers, the idea of him, that anyone can be him, is real. Evil doesn't die. It changes shape. And I like the fact that they explore that Corey is basically becoming the new Michael Myers. He's not trying to copy him and be a sidekick. He is trying to be him. And because Michael is old and decrepit, and because people are starting to kind of forget about him since it's been 4 years, Corey basically steals his mask and tries to go out and kill people before leaving Haddonfield. That way, once he kills all the people that have wronged him in his life, he can finally be relieved of Haddonfield and have some good left in him, which is what he needs Allison for. Allison is the last bit of humanity he has left. And when Laurie threatens to take it away from him, or her away from him, he goes wild and steals the mask, and Michael follows him. And like in 2018, Corey accidentally brings Michael to Laurie, and they get into an awesome brawl, and I fucking love the brawl, man. The brawl is awesome. Granted, it's short, but I love it. And I fucking love the procession scene. You're gonna call me a crybaby. I know someone will. Whether or not you leave a comment, a dislike, or what, someone will think I'm a crybaby. But man, when I saw Julian and everyone, you know, giving Michael the procession and that scene, man, I gotta admit, I shed a tear. It was awesome. That was probably in the top. That's probably one of the top 3 best moments in this movie. The procession, the fight scene with Laurie and Michael, and the fucking junkyard scene. The soundtrack, which by the way, I forgot to mention, is so good. It is probably right up there with 2018. Like, junkyard, the procession, the fight. I love listening to the fight, man. The fight is awesome. Cherry Blossoms, the theme. Oh my God, man. The soundtrack for this movie is awesome. When Corey and Michael, you know, have their little pool murder scene, music's great. Music's great, man. I love it. Now, obviously got all the things out of the way with Michael being weak and Laurie and, you know, all that, and Corey. So, now you know why I like this movie. I like the direction it took. I understand if people don't like the direction it took, and that's why they don't like the movie. But I genuinely don't understand why this movie is being called the worst Halloween movie. Give it some time. I guarantee you this movie will get some sort of cult following. I guarantee it. And if it doesn't, then oh well. You know, it's not like this is the end. It's called Ends, but similar to Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter, and Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, evil doesn't die. It changes shape. And besides, they already got the rights to make a fucking Halloween show, so we're going to get more Michael Myers at some point. So it's inevitable. But yeah, I do like this film. I do have issues with it in how it ends as a trilogy, since they kind of gloss over these 2 films. I mean, you watch them back to back, and it's like, these feel connected, this doesn't. But when you take in the ideas and the story that they explore, then I can start to piece it together with a trilogy. If you don't buy into the story and the ideas and the characters and everything that it basically does with Michael, then you're going to separate it from the 2 and you're not going to like it. But if you do what I did and like the story, like Corey, like the direction it took, then it's going to fit nicely in here. But as a trilogy, yeah, its ending, it could be a little better, but I liked it personally. I just think as a trilogy, like, it asks a lot from the viewer. And that's why, as a trilogy, I think it's very divisive, but I don't understand why it is divisive as it is. You know what I mean? Like, I understand why it's divisive. Like, I can understand if you don't like the fact that Michael's beat up a lot and that stuff. But being called the worst Halloween film, I don't agree with that. That's Rob Zombie's too. Sorry. I know there are people that love that movie. But guess what? You like Rob Zombie's Halloween too. I love Ends. It's my number 3 favorite Halloween film. So I'm going to give it an A. Happy Halloween. Good night. And remember, evil doesn't die. It changes shape. Until next year, my friend.